All right, one of our absolute favorites, Ty Richardson, co-host of the Morning Rush, program director, Hit the Line Arkansas, ESPN Radio. Ty, how's it going, brother?
Mike, it's great to hear you, man. It's been a while. I would be, in a better mood if Arkansas wasn't 1-5 in the league right now. Only in Arkansas could you potentially have the highest paid roster in college basketball and start as bad as they have in conference. Maybe we saw a flash of some hope after the Georgia win, or it was fool's gold, and they're just going to dwindle the rest of the season. Fingers crossed on the first one, Mike, but good to hear from you. Good to see you too, buddy.
Yeah, we were joking off air. Sometimes you got the hog hat, sometimes you got the Tuck Texas shirt on, but you don't even. It doesn't look like you want to be associated with Arkansas right now with the colors you're wearing.
No, man, it's a blue ESPN Arkansas shirt. Just like I can't even wear it. So the thing is with Cal, he wears that red suit for the first time all conference play and they win. So now people are on his ass about wearing red. They've been on his ass, and so I'm curious if he wears red tomorrow night against Oklahoma. If they lose and he's in a blue suit, people in Arkansas are going to go ballistic. But if he wins and he's donning some sort of red, they're going to say, that's the reason, Coach. That's the reason, Coach Cal.
All right, so I'm not trying to pile out Arkansas fans, but can you give us like a sense of the pulse right now? Because obviously football's in kind of like a I don't even know what you'd call it. Like I don't think Sam Pittman's dead man walking, but I don't think he's got a ton of support. And then all this hype and hope for the basketball, and maybe some of that was a little bit, over the moon just because it's new and it's Calipari and it's this huge name, but. Yeah. None of the big sports are where you want it to be right now.
Nope. Baseball season, you're excited about that. February 14th, they'll get going against Washington State and Bob Walker Stadium. You got to come for Tennessee and Arkansas, which I think is at the tail end of the season when Vitello makes that return trip to Fayetteville, which will be nuts. But as far as basketball fans are concerned, they're hanging on by a thread. If they lose on Saturday, maybe get drilled at Lexington next week, the season's over. And I hate saying that this early. It was just reality. Football-wise, I was in Memphis. I saw the fans that were there that were happy. You went 7-6 your last 3 years, 6-6 regular season, 4-8 regular season, 6-6. So it's not great. Man, you got to go to Knoxville, Baton Rouge, Oxford, Austin next year. Plus, you got to play Notre Dame. You got to go to Memphis. What the hell are you supposed to do with that? Like, legitimately, you think Nick Saban with Arkansas's players would be excited about that schedule? No, it's a fiery schedule, and I hope Sands doesn't get fired. I don't root for guys on this campus to get fired, but my goodness, he's got a tall task ahead of him. So, like you alluded to, not exactly ringing the bells for Arkansas hope, and I think a lot of people feel this way right now, lethargic, down, and hopefully baseball gets rolling and humming and turns the ship around.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw it, Ty, but earlier this week I put out a graphic of what I did was I looked at every SEC team's 2025 football schedule, and I just racked up their overall records in 2024, if that makes sense. So I don't know if that's the best method to determine the toughest strength of schedule in 2025, but Arkansas does lead the way. Well, kind of in the wrong. You don't want to lead it this way. Their opponents last season for the upcoming year went 106-53. And yeah, that's like you said, because they're playing Notre Dame, because they're playing Memphis. If Memphis was in the SEC, if Notre Dame was in the SEC, the record wouldn't be as good. But man, it just the general the people that reacted the most to that were Razorback fans and just kind of like feel like they're getting kicked while they're already down by the SEC.
No, we alluded to your exact graphic during the show this week. I saw that on Twitter, Mike, and I just laughed. I was like, this is just not surprising. You did a great job. I didn't think about something like that, but it's a good sense of, hey, strength of schedule. What does it look like for your team next year? And when Notre Dame loses one game all season, goes all the way to the national championship, you just keep adding wins to that. I think was State second. Is that right?
Yeah, Mississippi State second. It's funny. Kentucky third and Oklahoma fourth. So it's essentially like all the teams that you don't expect to do well. And then you got Mizzou down there. They got their opponents 76-76.
Oh my
so
gosh.
that just makes it worse for Arkansas, doesn't it?
Yeah, and luckily Arkansas gets them, I guess, in Fayetteville this next season. But that's been so irritating to look at Missouri's schedule or Ole Miss's schedule, and then you look at your schedule. It's just like, why? Who thought this was a good idea to put these teams on the schedule this season? But nevertheless, you got to play the games, and yeah, it's again, just keeps getting tougher. I would argue my argument on that is that Sam Pittman has a tougher schedule ahead this year, even with two byes and I think Alabama A&M first game of the season, than he did when he had 10 SEC games at the beginning of his tenure, which he walked in after two straight 2 and 10 years, and they went 3-7, and they should have gone like 4-6 or 5-5. Still that BS Auburn call. We never went at Jordan Hare, but actually they won the last two times, but usually it doesn't happen. That being said, it's just a SEC, man. You think about SEC basketball right now, it's like 12 teams maybe in the league. SEC baseball last 4 national champions. Football, football better start carrying the water. Think about that, Mike. That we're having to tell football you better pick it up. Last 2 years, you hadn't made the national championship. I know every year since 2006, you've either been in the national championship or you've been to the college football semifinals, basically. But the Big Ten's walking and boasting right now because they've got the last 2 trophies on their mantles.
Yeah, this is a basketball conference. I've been saying it for decades. So we are fully embracing it. But, I don't want to be, again, I don't want to be so negative. How's this for a positive spin? Am I completely off my rocker here? But I think Taylen Green, year 2, Bobby Petrino, now this is a critical part, if Taylen Green can stay healthy, I mean, I don't think it's far-fetched that he may be the best quarterback in the conference. And even if he's not that good, he could be like the breakout player of the conference. Would you go, I mean, could you see that happening?
I saw you put up the value of Heisman Trophy odds. I saw you slap that up there. I mean, I'd love that too because if that's the case, Mike, Arkansas's team is going to be a force to be trifled with. I mean, it's going to be tough. I mean, everyone. So they refer him to 4 guys, 3 Arkansas guys, 1 Louisville guy. Lamar Jackson, which is unfair, Heisman Trophy winner, 2-time NFL MVP. That's just an unfair comparison. He gets compared to Matt Jones, who maybe made a top 3 play in Arkansas history, that pass against LSU, Miracle Markham, 2002, and then Tyler Wilson, Ryan Mallett, who are 2 of the best passing quarterbacks that have ever stepped foot on campus in Fayetteville, Arkansas, because they played with Petrino, and then Matt because he's 6'6". So he's just like he walked in the first year of the SEC, didn't have the best year, and now you're hoping that he can expand on what he learned from what he saw, and just the staying healthy. That's the most important thing. I mean, offensive line wasn't that great last year, especially on the outside. They brought in some tackles. That Booker kid from Georgia Tech. They were really hoping he stands out. Carmota's back, so hopefully solidify that left side. So if they can protect him and give him some weapons, which losing Armstrong hurts. I hope that he's in that category, Mike, because if he is, this team again is we're not going to be talking about them being 6-6 if he's one of the best, not the best quarterbacks in the league. It's a different conversation we're having at the end of 2025.
Well, I'll give you one more comp for who he kind of reminds me of. This will piss off a rival, so this is a double whammy here. But he kind of reminds me of Vince Young when he was at Texas, and not Vince Young got all fat. That's the last memory people have of him spending all his money at the Cheesecake Factory. But at Texas, I mean, he carried that team to a national championship.
Yeah, and I remember how much I was cheering for that Longhorn team, which as an Arkansas fan, you just don't do. But they went up against USC, which at the time felt like the NIL bought everyone's school with Reggie Bush, Matt Leinart, Lindell White, Dwayne Jarrett, all those guys. And, on the other side, you think about Cushing, and they were just unbelievable. And Texas, actually, as weird as this sounds, Texas felt like the blue-collar team in that game. And I don't know how I remember it that way, because that's probably not how it was, but that's how it felt. So I liked Vince Young. He beat us in Fayetteville in 2004. That sucked. Matt's still pissed about that game. We should have won. But if you want to give him that comp, man, if I'm Taylen Green, I'll take that comp and I'll run to the house with. That's a great comparison.
Now, speaking of buying a roster, so I mean, this seems to change by the minute. Who in the heck knows what exactly is going to happen. But the anticipation is they're going to reach this house settlement, and there's going to be revenue sharing, and just rough estimate. Let's say every SEC team's got $15 to $16 million just for football roster. Let's say all that happens, and those numbers don't have to be exact or anything, but if that were to happen, does that help Arkansas that they're on more of a level playing field when it comes to acquiring talent?
I think so. I think it's just a matter of like, do you trust Sam Pittman and his staff to make the most accurate decisions when it comes to evaluating a roster? Cal missed, and I wouldn't think I was saying that, but he did this 9-man thing and it hadn't worked, and it's been a failure. Football team doesn't have that luxury. You're in what, year 6? You miss, it can result in you can let go, which obviously don't want to happen. Yeah, it absolutely helps out Arkansas. I would hope it levels out. I just don't know, because it sounds like collectives are still going to be a thing, and all they're going to do is just use those to supplement the revenue distribution. My question I have: what are the media mentors getting a cut of this, man? Are we going to get a cut of this revenue, this TV revenue? I mean, we're helping promote this. Well, I kid. It's the players, but yeah, I would hope this helps Arkansas and makes college football just more fun, because at the end of the day, you had two blue bloods go to the national championship. Evidently, it's helping SEC basketball, because this is the best the conference has ever been across the board, top to bottom.
Yeah. Who's more hated in Fayetteville right now? Is it Lane Kiffin stealing all these Arkansas players, or is it still Eli Drinkwitz?
Kiffin, I don't know if you saw, retweeted one of my buddy's tweets about Arkansas being used as a farm system, and which it has been. I mean, even Braylon Russell, who at one time, or I guess multiple times, hit the portal, he was either took a visit to Ole Miss or was about to. If you sucked away 4 Arkansas guys, I mean, that would have been the steal of the century. You got 3. You got Luke Kaz, freshman All-American tight end, didn't do much last year, banged up. Jalen Braxton, and then Patrick Kudus, Memphis kid, who did say on an Arkansas podcast he hated Ole Miss. Still's in Oxford, by the way. I mean, that's a pretty good haul to begin with. And he just keeps plucking players. Coop Ball was their best defensive player last year. We'll love to have him on the linebacker core for this past team, because they're pretty good there. Yeah, it's irritating. But Drink is just like, he twists the knife. Even though Kiffin does twist the knife, Drink's hurts worth because he's an Arkansan. I think what ticks me off about Ole Miss is you got Perryville's own Keith Carter directing the athletics department, Perryville, Arkansas, and they're dominating. Like, you talk about an athletics department that is intact, that is just in sync with their football program and the Grove Collective. I'd argue, based on where they were, Ole Miss might have benefited more than anyone else in college football based on what's happened the last couple of years.
Well, I know Texas is a big rival for Arkansas, but we all know on this show the real rivalry with Ty is Texas A&M. How glorious was it to see A&M 7-1, number 1 in the SEC, marching their way to the playoff? Looked like they were probably going to go to the SEC championship, and then they completely face-planted and lost every meaningful game after the month of October.
Aggie's going to Aggie, man. It's been like that since the dawn of time. I think one national championship since 1945 in any of the major sports. I was cheering for him in basketball, and I just kind of found myself looking in the mirrors like, who have I become? I'm cheering for this team. First thing, it's funny when we popped on this interview, first thing I noticed in your background was that 12th man flag, and I just want to light it on fire. I mean, here's the thing. Like, it's not a lot of people that go to school there are a little weird. They're a little odd. They've got their cult. That's fine. They're nice people. Like, media members are chill and they like it and everything. But it's just we can't beat these guys. If not for the last decade and a half of what's happened in Jerry World, which, by the way, that game's in Fayetteville this year, you would not hear this venom come out of my mouth every time we talk about Texas A&M. But it's the fact that since 2012, Arkansas has beat them one time. And that was because an All-American wide receiver by the name of Taylen Green just said, we're not losing this bleeping game today. And that's it. And every other game, I just wanted to, go to my back room, grab a shotgun and put it's just like it's every year. And maybe it'll change because the game's not in Jerry World. but until they actually win, I'm not picking them to win that game.
So is that the game that you're looking forward to the most next season for Arkansas because it's a home game, or is there a different one that stands out?
Man, I've never been to Knoxville, and I'm going to Knoxville this year. We got our Airbnb, Mike. I know that
Nice.
makes you and cousin Shane proud. I drove through on the way to Chapel Hill, went to Calhoun's on the river, broke into Neyland Stadium, took a selfie, and just kind of drove around campus a little bit. But I actually, funny enough, was talking to a broadcaster this week, and he told me he's been all these SEC stadiums and whatnot. He said there is nothing like Neyland Stadium. And I've been to Baton Rouge, I've been to Jordan Hare Stadium, I've been to Bryant Denny. I think I've been to 9 of them. We're gonna go to Austin this year. Like I said, been to Baton Rouge, been to the Grove. So the two I haven't hit are Austin and Knoxville of the 16, I guess, that I've still got some others to hit. But man, that's the one I'm looking forward to the most. That road trek. The week before, I've got a wedding in Nashville, so I'll be in Tennessee back-to-back weekends. And man, I cannot wait. We're honestly gonna get obliterated that game. Those Tennessee kids that saw us beat them on a last-second sack where Nico, all he has to do is throw the ball, and there's a guy I remember who it was, but he's just wide open the back of the end zone. Just sling the ball, young freshman Nico, and he didn't. And I was like, thank you, God, we won a game, and then we didn't do jack the rest of the season. That was the high point of 2024, Mike.
I think that's what Heupel coaches his quarterbacks to do with the game on the line. I don't know if you know this. This is the second time he's had a damn quarterback run out of bounds with the game on the line. But did you? I'm sure you saw this. I think it was Jeff Goodman. I think is his name. He wrote an article like this week that that cited some anonymous coaches in the SEC that basically said the game has passed Cal by. What was your reaction to that? Do you think there's any legitimacy to that, or is he just a Cal hater?
So we had Goodman on the show this week, and Jeff didn't seem to have Jeff and Mike Anderson didn't seem to have the best relationship. Him and Musk seem to have a good relationship, and he's just saying what I say he. Jeff didn't say that. He got information from a head coach and I think some assistants and whatnot, and they said that. And the only way you back it up or defend that is to not do what you've been doing. If you're John Calipari, I mean, I don't think he's going to have a chance the rest of the season. This season's pretty much done. But like Mike, if they don't make the tournament this year, which they're probably not going to, they have one NCAA tournament win in the last 5 years. He's been a head coach in Fayetteville and Lexington. 1-4 in Lexington, 0-1 in Fayetteville. It's not the same. His track record is so much different from the first 6 or 7 years. It's 2015 to 09 or 08. I'm forgetting when he started in Lexington. But that stint versus the back half, it's not even close. Like the Final Fours, the late NCAA tournament runs. I mean, it's hard to grasp that a Hall of Fame coach potentially in the last 5 years will have one NCAA tournament. But that's what's going to happen when this team doesn't make it. And so whether it's an anonymous SEC coach, whether it's other media writers being critical and whatnot, they have ammo. They're not pulling out like just fake news or fabricated facts or anything like that. They've watched college basketball in the NCAA tournament. And last year, it was about the freshmen that were tremendous in SEC play that just looked shell-shocked in the NCAA tournament. I mean, Reed Sheppard, I'd watched him all year. He didn't look like he knew how to play basketball when they played Goki and those boys. It just I hope obviously as an Arkansas fan that Cal is just beyond pissed about everything that's happened and that they go into 2025, 2026 and just annihilate teams and go off on runs and an NCAA tournament run. But that's what terrifies me is that he can't figure out what needs to be done in today's age in college basketball. I'm not going to go as far to say he's washed up or his fastball or anything like that. That people say that they want to just jump to that conclusion. But there's legitimate evidence that like things have not been trending well since he's been a head coach the last 5 years. You cannot refute that. And I hope it flips the script and changes, but who knows, man?
Yeah, and then pardon my ignorance here. Again, I'm new to basketball, but don't we have a Arkansas-Kentucky game coming up? And,
oh, yeah.
And who do you think that game will mean more for? Because I swear, everything Calipari, I look under it, it's Kentucky people talking. Anytime it's and vice versa. When Kentucky fails, it's Arkansas people chiming in social media. I mean, that seems like a blood feud right now.
Yeah. So to me, covering and listening and watching different sorts of media, I think the two best like SEC media members in terms of everything they've done are Billy Lucci and Matt Jones. Like I've just watched these guys, and they're just like everything they touches turns to gold. And Matt has just been going in on Cal, and you can't like say he's wrong. Like he's gone at it with Greenberg, or I know he had Jay Williams on the other day. Like you can't really diss anything he's saying right now. Now next year, if Arkansas goes off and they kick Kentucky's ass and have a long NCAA tournament run, then we get to laugh at him. But right now, it's just he's straightforward. And so that game's next Saturday. Interrupt 8 o'clock. I was going to go to Lexington, make the 10-hour trek, but I've thought better of that now. So I'm going to start drinking at 11 a.m. And so by the time the game gets going, I will be completely soft. So even if Arkansas loses, I won't be that mad, or I'll be screaming mad, one or the other. But yeah, the anger that has been so back and forth. Kentucky fans telling Arkansas that they're happy that Cal's on, they got a loser, and Arkansas fans were really happy. First they got Cal, and now there's some fans that are ticked off and everything else. So it has been fun. Like this is Arkansas fans would do the exact same thing. I would be doing the exact same thing to Matt Jones and Kentucky Sports Radio if this was happening in Kentucky, but it's not. It's happening to us. So we got to take it. And hopefully John Calipari can get out of this rut, which is year one, and get this thing going in years 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever else. And yeah, this game, like in the 90s when Nolan and Pitino were going at it, is the highest point this rivalry's ever been at. Pope doesn't have the same aura as either Nolan or Cal or Pitino, but this just the dynamic of leaving Lexington for Fayetteville has definitely just got this thing back to where it needs to be. It needs like this. You need this in SEC basketball. You need fan bases to have the same ill will towards each other that Auburn and Alabama do in football, or you do towards Florida. Like that's just you want that in all sports, not just football.
Yeah, well said. I think that's a great place to end it. Ty, before you go, can you tell my audience how to follow you and how to find your work?
Yeah, at Ty Sports Radio on Twitter. I don't know why you want to follow me or listen to me after that just horrid last 30 minutes or so. But Mike's the man. He takes pity on me for having me on. But yeah, the ESPN Arkansas, the Morning Rush, with 13 hours of daily sports radio on Arkansas sports between Chuck and Bo, me and Tommy Kraft, Phil Elson, the legend Matt Jones, Derek Ruskin, Zach Arns. It's a pretty good crew, and we're getting excited, man. SEC tournament coming up. We got media days around the corner in July. Just excited to see you in person, Mike.
Yeah, no, I can't wait. It's going to be a hell of a time.